Turn-based RPGs. We are going to go over making a setup for a turn-based RPG. As you can see here, we have a RPG encounter. The enemies hit us, it's just randomly hitting us. And then we have a list of abilities for our characters, and some abilities have criteria where this one can only target the knight, and then other ones can only target, for instance, this revive, a character with 0 HP, healing can only target things that aren't at full HP, and so on and so forth. This light attack can just attack anything it wants. The abilities themselves will be fully scriptable, entirely up to what you want to do with them, and generally it's going to be a very customizable, very fluid system to make your RPG in. So, without any further ado, let's get started because there is a lot of work to be done, and today we're going to get started setting up the ability components and the attributes for our turn-based characters. Here in an entirely empty project, we're going to be getting started. The finished project files both for the entire series as well as each individual video will be linked down below in the description as always for patrons and YouTube members. But for now, I'm actually going to make a little folder here for our TB RPG, that's turn-based RPG, because we're going to need to make a lot of stuff. And we're going to get started by making a actor component. So we go in here, make a actor component, and that will be our ability system component. And that's going to hold everything to do with our ability system. A lot of this series is going to be setting up a turn-based ability system. It will be very heavily inspired by Unreal's own gameplay ability system, but this will work entirely within Blueprint, and it will specifically be geared toward turn-based abilities, whereas the gameplay ability system that Unreal provides you with is more about real-time action abilities. So let's open that up, just so that we have that to access. Eventually, this is going to be one of the two central points of this system, the other one being the turn-based battle scene that we're going to be making. For now, this is just going to stick around for a bit, and we'll make another thing here in Blueprint. We're going to make a structure, and that structure is going to be called attributes. So instead of just adding a bunch of floats for like max HP and minimum HP and all that kind of stuff, we're going to be doing all of those combined within one attribute so that we can easily read and write from that and pass it around easily. So an attribute is going to have a name. So that's going to be a name variable. We'll call that just name. And then it's going to have a display name as well. So the name will be for internal use only. That's a name variable that's very optimized so that you can compare them to each other and they aren't as expensive as like string compares would usually be. The display name will be what you actually display in your UI and that kind of stuff. And that'll be a text so that it's also translation friendly. Then we need to give it the stat values. And for that, we're going to make another struct. So let's go ahead and make another blueprint struct, and we'll call that just like stats. And in here, we're going to be adding a whole bunch of floats. So we'll start with the minimum value, and every one of these is also going to have a modifier. So we'll also have a min value mod for the modifier. That way we can have a base value, which minimum value would be 0, but maybe we have a certain gameplay effect that while it's active, the minimum value is at least like 20. So we can set our modifier to being 20 when we apply that effect, and then take away 20 again from the modifier when we remove the effect without actually affecting the base value. And we're going to be doing that for the max value of everything as well. So max value and max value modifier. And then finally, we also add in the current value, because obviously that is the most relevant thing to do. And current value modifier. Now, if we were doing this in C++, we could actually add in within this struct functions to just get us the combination of these two and these two and these two. As it stands, we're going to do that as part of the ability system component instead. But now that we have these stat attributes with all the floats, we can go back into the actual attribute struct that we made and add in the actual stat. So that'll be of the variable type stat that we just made. And if we then go into the default values, we can see the name is the default, which is none. display name, which will be empty, and then our stats. We'll set the default value for things like the maximum value to like just 999, so we don't have to put that in anytime. Also do that maybe in the normal max value, and then the modifier will be 0. So we don't have to do that every time we add in a new stat, because likely the max value for most stats is going to be pretty high. And then the current value, you can give it a default value as well if you want to. For now, I don't really care that much. So back in the ability system component, now that we have those structs, we can make a variable called attributes. And that will be of type attribute, the structs that we just made. And coming over to the right side here, we're going to make that into an array. So now we have an array of attributes. And the way that this is going to work is when we want to get an attribute out of this ability system component, we're going to be doing that based on its name. This, once again, is a situation where C++ might be able to help you a little bit more, because you can write like custom finding operations for your struct in an array. We're going to have to do it a little bit differently in Blueprints, but we can just add in a attribute here. Let's say the name will be HP. Display name, let's call it health, and then the stat will be 999 max value by default. Let's actually set that to 100, and then it'll also start at a current value of 100. The wonderful thing about doing it this way is that it is very flexible which stats you give to which characters. We're not hard coding in a bunch of variables inside of the ability system component class itself. That is just everything is going to have HP, and everything is going to have MP, and everything is going to have stamina. Maybe certain enemy characters don't need MP or stamina, so we don't need to give it to them. Or maybe certain enemy characters have specific attributes that only they need, and your player characters definitely don't need to worry about that. Every single instance of your components can have its own set of attributes, and as long as you use the same name for things that are the same, so everything that's HP should be called HP, you can easily find it based on their names. So let's make those functions to get the combined minimum, the combined maximum, and the combined current value based on the name of the attribute, because that is going to be, again, the central thing that everything in the end comes down to in the combat. It's either increasing or decreasing attributes. That's what pretty much all your moves are going to be doing. So let's add a function and call that getAttributeMinimum. And that will take in as an input just the name of the attribute that we want to get. So that'll be a name variable. We'll get our attributes array that we have here, which you might as well expose as well, because you're going to want to be setting this on each character that you add this component to, obviously. But this array will for each loop over. And then we just split this structure up in. And then we compare the name that we give in to each and every one of the names that we have in the array. If we find one, what we do is we get the element stats, we break that. And there we have the minimum value, the maximum value, and the current value. So once we find whatever name is equal to the name that we give in, we will simply return. In this case, we're getting the minimum value, so we get the base minimum value plus the minimum value modifier, and that will be our return value. And this is quite as easy as it gets. The moment it finds it, it's going to run this return node, so it's not going to even loop over the rest of the array either. We'll be fine, and we'll get the number of its current minimum plus modifier. So for this, I like to call the output here min value, and then add in with mods, just to make sure that it's clear that this is with the modified value applied. Now we can just kind of copy this over. We can get attribute max, and we just put in the max values for both. And of course, we also do one for get attribute current. And we suddenly have our three functions that we can now use anywhere that we want. We give it a name of whatever we're trying to find, and we get back its value. Now, the way that we're going to be editing these will be with gameplay effects. Again, very much based on Unreal's gameplay ability system, which we will make a little bit later down the line. For now, I think what we want to do is we want to make a character for our turn-based combat. Now, going into Blueprint class, you can just make this a character or a pawn if you want to. The thing is, we're not actually going to be possessing these, because we will be possessing a manager object that gives the actors themselves tasks like, hey, you do this ability now, you do this ability. So the player controller isn't actually going to be possessing any of these characters, because we're going to be controlling multiple at a time, because we have like party members, right? So you can just make this an actor, with the caveat that that is assuming that we don't need to do any like AI movement stuff. Because if you do want the characters to like actually walk up to each other, it might be easier to make them characters because they'll have a character movement component. For the way that we're going to do it, everything is going to just be static, very much like classic Final Fantasy style. So we're just going to make them basic actors. And we call this BP turn-based character, which is maybe a bad name because it implies that it is a character class, which it isn't. So you know what, let's actually call this turn-based actor. Just to make sure that it's clear what this actually is. In the turn-based actor, you can do whatever you want with this. I'm just going to simply be adding a skeletal mesh. In the preview at the start of this video, I showed you a couple of characters with meshes from the Paragon set that Epic provides to people. I'm not going to be including those in this project because those files are fairly large and I don't want these project files to be like 20 gigabytes apiece. So we're just going to be using the default mani instead. So we'll just do skeletal mesh, set that to the mannequin, make sure to rotate it in the proper forward direction so that it matches the X being forward. You can maybe see like the red line, that's the direction that your character should be facing forward in. And then we'll use the animation blueprint for mani as well. Now, these don't even necessarily need collision either, because obviously, again, they're going to be mostly standing still and just playing animations and playing some particle effects, and they're not going to be moving around, they're not going to be doing any collision checks, so you don't even need to give this a collider necessarily. Again, maybe unless you want these to actually be moving around with like AI stuff, in which case they might benefit from having a collider. The more important part is adding in our ability system components that we made. So we're going to be adding that in. And you can see in its attributes, we already have the basic attribute that we added in, being the health, because effectively everything that's going to have one of these components needs to have an HP stat. So that just comes pre-loaded in, but we can very much just give this, because this is now the player. Well, it's actually not the player yet, it's just the base pawn. But we can give this one specifically now MP, and if we make another one, it's not going to have MP yet, because that's specifically something we added to this version of this blueprint, this component. But we're not going to be adding MP to this yet, because I want the MP to only be like a player related. So let's just actually do that. Let's make a separate player and enemy pawn hierarchy. So we can right click on our turn-based actor and we can say BP player actor, and then another child blueprint of the turn-based actor again, and that will be BP enemy actor. Now, this just works inheritance-based as you would expect it to, so we can add a skeletal mesh, give it a different mesh if we want to, so maybe like we give it this mesh instead. And then, because this is the player, we want to actually give this one MP. So we add in an attributes, we name that MP, we give that a max value of 50, and then its current value will also be 50 by default. And then you can make all of your individual characters, like your Cloud, your Aerith, your Tifa, whatever, as child blueprints of this one. And the same thing with the enemy actor. We can give that whatever mesh that we want. As for now, we'll just do the Quinn mesh, and you can make child blueprints of this as well, with different skeletal meshes, with different animation blueprints, with entirely different components onto it as well, if you want to. So you can make all your enemies of this. And that is the basic setup of setting up our ability system component that now exists, and we'll have some attributes to work with. Now, this is a fairly fundamental setup part, so that's why I really wanted to take the time to make this into its own separate video. We're gonna kind of start getting a move on with hopefully getting something that is actually like functional and works with stuff really quickly in the next video or two after this, we start implementing the gameplay effects to change these attributes, and then gameplay abilities to apply those effects. And a very big thank you to all my Patreons. You can see them on screen right now. If you want to help support the channel or get any of the project files in any of my tutorials, there's a link down below to the Patreon page to support me, or alternatively as a YouTube member. And of course, an extra massive thank you to my Cave Digger tier supporters, Sergey Thomas and Mauricio Farias, and my Cave Student tier supporters, Oiku and Earl Monsville Urno.